Hello, everyone. My name is Louise McCoy, and today we're talking about incorporating technology to differentiate instruction across tier levels. A little bit about me. I've been teaching for 15 years. I have a bachelor's degree in English, a master's degree in reading literacy, and a specialist degree in educational administration and supervision. I was recognized in 2017 as Teacher of the Year at the Rankin County Learning Center. So let's talk about our agenda for today. The first thing we'll do is go to Padlet and have a discussion on the discussion board. Next, we'll move into our objective, where we will discuss our goals and what you will be able to do by the end of this presentation. Next, I'll talk about some of the processes that we use in the classroom to support students across levels of tier. Then we'll move on to modeling, where I'll model some of those technologies, and then I'll guide you through those technologies as well as do a carousel activity. Finally, in our independent practice, I'll step away and give you time to create your own instructional piece and present it. So let's get started. The question on the discussion board is, how do you use technology to meet the needs of all tier levels in your classroom? And if you're asking exactly what a tier level is, let's use this diagram to help. So I'll draw out this triangle. Tier 1 is the universal support for all students in your classroom. Is that great instruction that's giving to every student in your class. Now, when you move to tier 2, it's smaller. It's about 5 to 10% of your class. These are the students who need a little bit more help with the content that you're teaching. And then we move to tier 3. Tier 3 is that individual support for a few students, usually 1 to 5% of the students in your class. And these students need intensive and persistent support because they're really struggling with the content that you're teaching. Now, if the majority of the students in your class are struggling with the content that you're teaching, I'd usually go back and teach the content again, or teach the skill again, because the majority of the students are struggling. I try to find a different way to teach it because the way I taught it didn't work. Usually when I teach an assignment, it's broken down into these 3 tiers. There are 80 to 90% of students who get it, who are doing well with the content. There's 5 to 10% of students who need a little bit more support. And then there's this small group, 1 to 5%, that have a few challenges and they're really struggling to understand the content. So the question here is, how do you use technology to support all levels of tier? How do you use technology to support that 80 to 90% range of students in your classroom? How do you use technology to support that smaller group, or that small group instruction where it's 5 to 10% of your class that's needing additional support? And also, how do you use technology even in your tier 3 with students who need intensive and persistent support? What are your thoughts? Our objective today is you will create an instructional piece for your classroom using technology. You will explain how this resource supports the gradual release process, data keeping, and timely feedback for all students. Let's get into the input. So what is gradual release? How do we use data to provide timely feedback to students? How do we use technology to provide timely feedback to students? What is gamified learning? And how do we use technology and gamified learning to meet the needs of students across levels of tier? Gradual release is a best practice instructional model where teachers strategically transfer the responsibility in the learning process over to the students. What does that look like in the classroom? Well, the teacher models. The teacher is modeling explicitly how to do the skill or how to perform the standard. Then the teacher and the students do it together. They work together with shared responsibility. Next, the teacher guides them. The teacher steps back a little bit and watches the students work while still being available to provide feedback and guidance. It's more collaborative responsibility. Then the teacher steps back even more and lets the students work independently. where the students are able to work alone, independent of the teacher. And this gives students time to reflect, be creative. As they gain more strength in this skill, they're able to work more independent of the teacher and be more creative and show exactly what they know. So let's match them up. You do. What is the you do? Is you do students working independently? Is you do a shared instruction with the teacher? You do is students working independently. So what is the I do? Is I do shared instruction with the teacher, or is I do teacher modeling? Teacher modeling. And we do. What is we do? It is that shared instruction with the teacher. All right, let's continue.